And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session today on open educational resources, or who says there's no such thing as a free lunch. I'm Dave Giberson. I'm an old instructional design coordinator, retired from Online Learning Pathways at the district. And they brought me back to do some of these training sessions on Zoom. The topic today, indeed, is open educational resources. And the number one word we want to focus on today is free. Almost all of everything we'll talk about today is free. Free to you, free to your students. This is, we're all scandalized by the cost of textbooks and educational materials that we have to ask our students to buy. And we know it's a tremendous financial hardship, especially for a lot of our community college students. And it's a major factor fueling the, $1.2 trillion in student debt that our students have taken on over the last few decades. It's just a scandal, but there doesn't seem to be anything we can do in many cases to alleviate that. Well, founded many years ago, there's a movement to give our students a significant amount of relief from this student debt and from the expense of going to school. And most of these efforts can be grouped under this banner of open educational resources. Free resources that you can use in your courses that your students can access without cost, that save the cost of a $200 textbook and things like that for a one semester community college class. It's just gotten bizarre, and it has been for a long time. And these open educational resources can reduce our dependence on those commercial products, can provide our students with marvelous educational materials, and save them just a tremendous amount of money. Yes. Question? Nope, must have just been background there. So far, everything's pretty quiet, so I'm going to leave everyone unmuted for now. If I need to, I'll mute you, but I'll leave you the option to unmute yourself when you have a question. So let's take a look at today's outline just to get an idea of what we're going to be talking about. I think I've got that underneath here. Whoop. There it is. Okay. So we're going to start off talking about what is OER, what are some of the different types of open educational resources. Then we'll talk about places to find those resources, and we'll be looking around and tinkering with and seeing examples of a lot of this stuff. So let's go ahead and get started with that. And we'll start by talking about, yes, hello? Oops, I am going to go ahead and mute everyone now, but you will be able to unmute yourselves. So what are the major types of open educational resources? What are some examples? Well, probably the first thing everyone thinks about when we start talking about OER are open or free textbooks. Textbooks that have been, in many cases, donated by faculty members, subject area experts in their own fields, who have not been able to find a commercial textbook that they were comfortable with asking their students to buy, and have created their own. materials that stand in, at least for a commercial textbook. Though many of these open textbooks now are created by companies who work with faculty and who support the creation of these resources and then find ways of monetizing it, but not in ways that beggar our students. But in addition to and of course that's a huge thing right there. That's probably the student's single biggest expense in most of our courses. Given our tuition rates, they spend more for textbooks than they do for tuition in many cases. But also, especially important to us, are a group of resources that we might lump under the heading of learning objects. Little bite-sized resources that usually focus on a specific topic within a course that are that in aggregate make up a course, but little chunks of content, little chunks of resource that can be strung together to make a good course. These range from documents of all sorts. I mean, ranging from lesson plans to course outlines, tests, sample syllabi, lecture notes, all manner of documents, simulations, online simulations of various processes or activities that can be used in teaching, simulations that show everything from the behavior of an ideal gas to the trajectory of a ball thrown into the air, to economic trends, things that model reality in computer, visually and audibly in computer terms. And then, of course, educational video. There's a ton of instructional video out there that is available for free. YouTube alone contains literally millions of instructional videos, many of high quality and some and impeccable pedigree. So this is another vast resource out there of free open educational materials that we can tap into for our own courses. And also free tools that can be used instructionally. Free compute, usually we're talking software, so software tools of various types. My current favorite one that's completely free is this little devil. Oh, there we go. Techsmith Capture, just announced a month and a half ago or so, a simple, very efficient screencasting system. Will allow you to record on the spur of a moment, record your screen and your voiceover with just a few mouse clicks. I'm not going to demonstrate that. We did that on Friday in our screencasting class, but it's an example of an OER tool. Totally free, provided as a marketing tool by the company that makes a lot of the commercial screencasting software that we use every day, things like Snagit and Camtasia.
What was it called, the one you just...
Oh, it's called Techsmith Capture.
Oh.
Just Google Techsmith Capture. You may remember Jing. Anybody remember Jing from the same company? Was an introductory, kind of a first-time screencasting tool. It was totally free. Had a lot of limitations. Capture doesn't have a lot of those limitations. For instance, with Jing, you could only record for 5 minutes. With this, so far, it seems to be unlimited, as near as I can tell. They're being a little cagey about that, but as for now, I've recorded 30-minute screencasts so far, and I had no trouble with that. But this is a replacement for Jing. It's an update of Jing, and it is exceptionally useful. I've started using it myself, even though I have half a dozen different screencasting tools I can use. It's always been a fascination of mine. I use this one as much as any of them now. It became one of my favorites almost immediately, and totally free. You can download it from there and install it from their website in about 5 minutes and be using it. And we have tutorials on how to do that. I'll answer questions about it later if anybody is still interested. So these are just some of the types of open educational resources, because what is and is not an educational resource is in the eye of the beholder. It depends on your point of view and your subject matter, your subject area. So there's just this tremendous amount of free educational material out there, mostly accessed through the internet, through the World Wide Web. And things that we can use to either create or enhance our courses, particularly our online courses. Though let's face it, as moving forward, hopefully every course will be at least partly online, in that online resources will be a part of those courses from here on out. I dearly hope and trust, because they're exceptionally valuable instructionally, and we've all had to get used to it because here we are having to teach almost completely online. I saw some figures today about the online, or the prevalence of online instruction in the fall here at the district. And something like 68% of the course sections are fully online. Another 22% are hybrid. They have some face-to-face component, but much of the course, perhaps most of it, is online. 90% of the instructional activity, basically, or 90% of the sections, are going to be at least partly online for the fall. Only 10% are meeting fully face-to-face. At least that's the plan right now. So it's hard to imagine that these sorts of online resources, these open educational resources we can access through the internet, are not going to be an important part of our future, even when we can go back into the classroom, because we'll all have learned how to make use of them, and they are incredibly valuable to our students. But this has been true for a long time in terms of this massive availability of online educational resources. It's been true for a long time. Major reasons that they haven't been adopted more than they have is just difficulty of finding what you want. And we're going to try to address that a little bit in the rest of this presentation, where to find open educational resources, what some examples of things to look for, and things like that. Also, I think there's been something of a stigma associated with particularly open textbooks, the idea if they're free, they can't be any good. And I hope to convince you otherwise on that. Some of them are quite good. And there's just a massive collection of them out there. The chances are very high that if you spend some time looking, you can find an open textbook that compares quite favorably to the commercial textbook you're using. Another impediment to the adoption, at least of open textbooks, has been the lack of ancillary materials like test banks and problem sets, practice material that would accompany online or open textbooks, things that the publishers have specialized in because they see that as a point of advantage that they have. They have the resources to create these materials where the people who create open textbooks are less likely to have those kind of resources. But that's changing to some degree. Particularly with some of the open textbooks created by organizations or by companies that have a stake in this business, are starting to have some very nice ancillary materials, and we'll take a look at some examples of that here today. So open textbooks are becoming more and more of a viable choice, and that's what they are, a choice. Nobody's saying anybody has to use them. While there's been active encouragement of OER for years, and it goes through surges of enthusiasm and things like that, but nobody's trying to pressure anybody into using open materials. We just want to make sure that you know what's available and that high quality materials are available, and that they can, of course, be a tremendous boon to your students, many of whom are struggling financially. So let's take a look at how we might get started in looking for online educational resources. And I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have used online educational resources in the past, things that you found online and that that you've heard about at conferences or in discussions with colleagues. But we want to try to give you a little bit more, or a little bit easier entry into that world. Toward that end, some months ago, I got tasked to put together an open educational resources site on our Canvas system that served at least as a sort of a portal into the world of online educational or open educational resources. And I would hope that many of you already see this tile on your Canvas dashboard. This one right here, the one with the little hands sticking up, the Open Educational Resources site. We try to, we do periodically refresh the enrollment in this Canvas course to include, hopefully, all instructors. I'm sure we're not entirely successful in that. So if you do not have access to this shell, if you don't see this tile, won't necessarily be this color, but that little graphic will be the same. If you don't see that, please email me, let me know, and I will enroll you in that site. Only takes a second. And let's go into it by clicking on that. Let me go ahead and put, while I'm thinking about it, put my email in the chat tool. Notice there's no N on the end of the alias, just 8 characters, dgibberso@sdccd.edu, and I'll be happy to put you in here if you don't have access to it. It's a fairly basic Canvas course, and one of the things we especially hope will happen is that people other than us will add content in here that they know about, textbooks and other types of content. And here's a little video showing how to add links to this, to these areas of the site. Anybody is welcome to do that, and anybody who's enrolled in the course can do that. And I want to enroll you so that you can do that. The course is fully open. No, you don't have to be enrolled just to view it. And all you have to have is this URL, which will take you directly into the course. Won't give you any edit rights, but it will give you the ability to view it. I'll put that in the chat tool. Whoop. I think I sent that to everyone. Yes. So you're welcome to go in at any time, even if I haven't put you in there yet. And if you'll email me, I'll go ahead and do that as well. So we've basically broken this into 4 areas of open educational resources. We're always open to suggestions on things that you may have seen or that you think we ought to have here that we haven't thought of yet. So please feel free to do that. The biggest single part of the site are the open textbooks, the free textbooks. The motto, the OER movement is free the textbook. And we've got by no means an encyclopedic list, but a fairly extensive list of open textbook repositories at the top here. These are all different places where you can go to look for open textbooks in your field. The one that I based the rest of this site on was the Open Textbook Library, and it is extensive. It has open textbooks in all of these subjects, and you can browse by subject area. If you want history textbooks, you can go here. And then there are just many of them. Some of them very specific, and the levels vary from postgraduate university to community college, to even to high school. Classical mythology. Press Books is a major supplier of, and we've got them linked separately. But this is an aggregator. They pull, scrape content from many open textbook sites and bring it in here. Western Civilization, if anybody actually dares to teach Western Civ anymore, there's free books on Western Civ from the Portland Community College, freely shared, and so on. So the open textbook library is a good one. One that I was recently turned on to, LibreText, is another aggregator that pulls textbooks from all over the place, from many other sites. And these are, this is quite a cool site. There's a libraries, and Explore the Libraries here at the top shows you the different subject areas that they have textbooks in. You can pick a subject area, and these are pretty slick. They're very nicely done, very slickly done. They've scraped other people's content off and put it in their own formatting, and it's very clear and easy to work. It's something that students, it's an ebook. Students have to use it online. Though they're working on the possibility of getting these printed out and so on. And many of these open textbook providers will sell your students a paper copy of one of these open textbooks, but instead of it costing, over $100, it's typically 20 or 30 bucks, just enough to give them a little bit of profit and cover the costs of printing and distribution, instead of,
Do they have
hey,
ESL? Do they have ESL?
Let's see. That's a good question. We can search. I tell you, let me show you what one looks like, and then we'll go look for that.
It says there, I see it under there, English as a second language under search. I saw that.
Oh my gosh.
No, I mean, when you said, how can we help you? And then you filled it in there, it said ESL, English as a second language.
Oh, yeah, somebody searched for that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's there.
Oh, I see.
It just means somebody searched for it. Let's see.
I get it.
Vocabulary and registers of English. Not quite so much,
Not much.
but there are other sites do have
Yeah.
some of that content.
Thank you.
But that's exactly the sort of thing you might look for. Okay, let's go back. I think I was going to chemistry. And these, a very interesting feature of this site is that if you sign up, if you get a vetted instructor account, in other words, if you apply for an account and you establish that you're an instructor at an educational institution, you can take this content and take content from more than one book, merge it together, other resources and so on, and create a mashup, if you will, of instructional material that then is customized for your needs. And that's what their courses are. But the bookshelf provides you with access to the actual books. And these people don't create a great deal of content themselves, but they aggregate content from many different sources. For instance, I taught general chemistry for years. I'll go into that one. These are all different general chemistry books that they've got. They have quite a selection. And let's just look at this one. And it's very slickly done, more slickly done than most of the other repositories, complete with animations in many cases and things like that. So this is very visually appealing. And each of these represents a section of the textbook, of course, starting here with. And each of the sections of the textbook is linked. Start at the beginning. What is chemistry? Did that a few times. You got everything, learning objectives, lecture or textual, learning materials, illustrations, good illustrations, and glossary. And in many of the chapters, not this one, there'll also be example problems and questions, things like that. That's exercises for students to do. So it's very slickly presented. I'll show you this same book in another format in a little while. You get a feel for how nicely done this is. So that's a new one that I've just started looking at, but these others are quite extensive. Open text from the State University of New York, Open Oregon, right next door to me up here. Lyrics, all with quite extensive collections of open textbooks. And this is by no means an encyclopedic list. I'm particularly interested, and I think you will be too, in a company called Openstax, because Openstax has gotten in bed with the California Community College's Open Educational Initiative. The folks who, among other things, provide us with Canvas and access to lots of other resources as well, and run the California Virtual College, California Virtual Community College, and all that. Aggregation of online courses offered by all of the 115 or so California community colleges. But the Openstax has worked actively with the OEI and has produced for most, if not all, of their community college or college level textbooks. They have many high school level books as well, but they've produced instructional materials, notably Canvas courses that go with their textbooks, full course cartridges, we used to call them in Blackboard, that you can load right into your course shell in one fell swoop and have a beginning, at least, of a course right off the bat that's integrated with this textbook. That's pretty cool. None of the commercial publishers, or very few of them, will allow you to do that now, because they want your students to buy access to their online sites, like my whatever lab, my math lab, my accounting lab, or some of the other publishers' sites.
Ravel.
Pardon?
Ravel was one of them.
Yeah.
RVEL.
And these cost your students quite a lot of money per semester. And they add drastically to the cost of a textbook. And usually that's on top of the cost of a paper textbook, in some cases, they'll bundle the ebook with the publisher's resource site. And that can save the students some money in the long run, but then they don't get a paper book and most students still certainly do prepare paper books, at least in addition to access to the textbook online. But publishers want your students to spend all that money for those sites. These open textbooks are starting to provide resources that are almost comparable to that for free. Indeed, in most cases, given these open textbook providers, the only time the student actually pays anything is if they want a paper copy of the book. And again, usually it's just a modest cost. So Openstax is one we want to take an especially close look at. If we look, we can see the subject areas that they cover. And a lot of it is STEM stuff, math and science, but not all of it by any means. And they have quite an extensive catalog of books in numerous different, particularly in the areas that are most commonly encountered in community colleges. Social sciences. A little bit in humanities, not nearly enough.
And no
Fair
speech.
bit in business. Pardon?
No speech or communication.
No, unfortunately not. But such books do exist outside this. Not a lot in the way of language in general through Openstax.
What about art?
Not from them either, but they're only one provider.
Oh.
That they're by no means the only option out there. And what we have done, obviously, so you can start looking through these, and you can find books yourself, and we strongly recommend that you do so. But we've tried to help out at least a bit by scrolling down here, by going out and browsing a lot of these sites ourselves and looking for open textbooks that appeared to be at an appropriate level for the first 2 years of college, and pulling those together into a subject organized set of listings. Our lists are, again, by no means encyclopedic. We don't begin to suggest that we have found anything like all the open textbooks in a particular subject area out there. But we're always looking and adding to this site. And we would love, if you find a good textbook that you think is worthy of consideration, even if you don't plan to use it yourself, and especially if you do, we'd love to have you add to this. And here's a little video showing you how to do that. And if you're enrolled in this course, which I would love to do for you, you would be able to go in and add to it yourself. It's just a Canvas course. So the basic techniques of adding content to this are nothing new to most of you. Most of you have worked with Canvas at one time or another. So it's just a matter of, this kind of shows the look and feel that we're going for here, that to try to keep the site working fairly consistently. We would ask you to try to stick as much as possible within that look and feel, and this will show you how to do this. Video will show you how to do that. But let's see, English is a second, and another thing we don't have here, because quite disappointingly, Canvas, like too many LMSs, does not have a search tool built into it. You can't search a Canvas course for a particular, by keyword, for a particular subject or names of material. So there's no way for us at this point in time to provide a search engine for this, which we would really like to do. And the minute that capability comes out, we will use it if it ever does. But these subject areas are sort of a rough attempt at categorizing these books. We've tried to remain fairly consistent with like that open textbook library is where we took a lot of our ideas, borrowed them. But let's see. For language, I think that might be under humanities. Let's see. Yeah, grammar. And these you just have to look for: logic, philosophy, but no ESL. I'm going to make it my task to find some ESL resources here. I go back home. Oops, went too far back. Sorry about that. There's one on public speaking from the University of Georgia, University System of Georgia. So a speech textbook, but ESL, I'm not sure. I don't recall anything. I put all these in here, but it's been a while. I don't remember exactly seeing that, but I had this feeling I did see it somewhere. I will look. Anyway, I wish there were a search engine, but you can browse these by topic. Some of the subject areas obviously have more than others. And again, we tend to focus, especially, I made sure all of the Openstax books appeared in here because they have particular, they are particularly attractive because of the ancillary materials they provide. Let's see, let me go to the physical sciences, since that's where I'm most at home. And here's the Openstax Chemistry book. Let's just see what one of these listings looks like. This will take you directly to the page within the provider's site for that book. So I can shorten at least give you an entree into this world. And these are fairly typical open textbooks. They're really designed to be used online. as ebooks, which of course requires an internet connection. But they're usually most effectively used when they're used online while you're connected to the internet. Here is the Openstax display, and this is that same course we saw, or I was showing you at LibreText a little while ago. And here's a table of contents, and we're at the introduction, and there'll be a chapter outline which gives you immediate hop to the portion of the page. It's basically a web page with excellent illustrations, text. It'd be a little better if I full screen it, but I don't want to do that because I know some of you have that video bar over here on the right that you can't see behind. So really, speaking as somebody who's taught general chemistry for 15 years in his youth, this is not a bad textbook at all. And there are, at the bottom of every page, there's a little button for the students. If they say, I really want this in print, they can get it in print. So that's the way the book is really intended to be used, but that's not the only option for the students by any means. They can also, there's an Openstax app that will allow them to access this book on their tablet or their smartphone very efficiently. They can also download a PDF version of the book for free. And once they get that, they could print parts of it themselves if they wanted, but it's several hundred pages. They wouldn't want to have to do it themselves. It's quite a large PDF with Zoom going in the background here. It's going to take that a minute to come down, but this is an option. And a PDF file, of course, is portable. It can be moved between devices. It can be viewed on just about any computing device. The portable document format's great. Virtue is its universal support on almost any computing or video platform. And the students can take this with them on their phones, on their tablets, on their laptops, so they can have access to it at any place, anytime, whether they happen to be online or not. I'd really like you to see this. So wait for it to finish loading. There it goes. And it's a fairly standard looking textbook at this point. And there's the free Openstax app. And of course, we have a table of contents that actually works, so you can leap ahead. Excellent illustrations, blood gases. Used to teach that, and so on. So it's quite good. And most of the Openstax books are similar quality and completely free. And how do they do that? Well, there's order print copy. And if the student does that, they can order personal copy. And let's see what they want for this one these days. They can get the Kindle version of it. They can carry with them for free. Paperback, $45, $44.50. It's more than it used to be, but still a whole lot less than any commercial textbook that they. And they don't have to do that. They can do it. They can use the PDF or the Kindle version of the book for free. So that's how they support this. So it's not likely, it's not an inevitably doomed effort. If there's no financial underpinning to an effort like this, it's never going to last. OpenStax has been around for a while and shows every likelihood of remaining for a while, particularly given the current circumstances where so many people are having to go online and students can't get to the bookstore and so on. These open textbooks are becoming a lot more popular. So, pretty decent resource. And let's see if I can get back to our site. And there, as I say, that we've got a couple hundred, or well over 100 open texts among these different subject areas, but we would really love to have more, and hope that you will contribute some when you find them. If you don't find them listed here, we'd really appreciate you adding them, or just send me the link to it. If you find something online that you think is valuable, I'd be more than happy to link that textbook into one of these subject areas. I just, I might never find it because I don't know your subject, and I wouldn't be looking around on the internet in areas where I might run across such things. So I'd really appreciate it if you can help us extend this. But there are a significant number of open textbooks here, but by no means would you want to just look at these. You have all of these other sites here, and these, particularly these first two, other than the Openstax are all in here, but or all the ones that would be appropriate for community college anyway. But Open Textbook Library and LibreText are really extensive listings of these, and you might find some that you would think would be appropriate that we missed or skipped over because we didn't realize, not knowing your subject area, that it would have been. And then of course you've just got gajillions of others, but there's a limit to how much time we can spend looking for things like this. So I'd start probably with these two, with the Open Textbook Library and LibreText. And OpenStax as well, if you can find if you don't go in and find them in our area there. And I mentioned also that the ancillary materials being provided are getting better and better. Let's go back to that chemistry book again as an illustration. There's a tab here for instructor resources and one for student resources. Let's look at the student resources real quick. There's a student getting started guide for the textbook, a solution guide for the problems and exercises. No, I don't think you can stop the student from getting that. I can hear that, that question coming already. Reading and note-taking, and a time management guide, which is kind of generic. Those are okay, but the instructor resources are quite impressive. Starting off, they have cartridges, complete courses that can be loaded right into your course shell for both Canvas and Blackboard. They do limit access to those sites, and for some reason they haven't. I applied for access some time ago, and I've never gotten in. Not to worry, there's another way you can get these, and I'll show you that in a moment. Here's a sharing, basically a learning objects repository for sharing learning objects. There's an instructor getting started guide. There are PowerPoint slides, enhanced PowerPoint slides that are keyed to the text. They go with the text. A solutions manual, which is more extensive than one the students get, obviously. Test items, test bank. A sample syllabus, transition guide, diversity guidelines, and customizable Google Forms that you can use to collect information from your students. all done for you. But the real kicker is this Canvas course cartridge here. That all, I think, as far as I know, all the Openstax books have these. Let's see how we can find those. You can get them directly from this site by signing up for an account to access locked content. And I did that, and they never let me in. I'm not quite sure why. But that's not a big deal, because all of these books are also available in a learning objects repository that is especially targeted at us at the California community colleges, and that's tightly integrated into Canvas, and that's always available to you. Notably, the Canvas Commons. If you look in the global access menu on the left of every Canvas page, there's a link to the Commons, which is again, a learning object repository. It's a collection of free learning materials that have been shared by our colleagues, notably our colleagues in the California community colleges, but also colleagues all over the country and even all over the world. The resources that have been shared freely for you to use, sometimes with attribution, sometimes not, but resources that you can use freely that will not cost you or your students anything to use. By definition, open educational resources. And those that are likely to be appropriate for our level of higher education. You get to the Commons just by clicking on that link, and that takes you to a search page for the Commons. And you can search for any subject area. We've already wondered about English as a second language. Obviously, that search has been done before. Okay, we've got 30 results. If I were to type in something a little bit more like general, a little more general, like history or something, or just English, we would get hundreds. But we've got 30. This is a manageable collection to look at. And we've got resources that, all sorts of different types of resources. If I look at the filter here, I can show you what the different possibilities are. There are images, individual images that you can download and use in your own course. Audio files, videos, a lot of documents of all sorts, Canvas pages, which you can incorporate right into your course, so the same kind of rich text type material, discussion forum ideas, quizzes, homework assignments, entire modules, chunks of courses, and even complete courses. So all of these things are available, and including open textbooks. And you can search for those specifically. And we see there's a pretty good selection of those sorts of things here for ESL. There are quizzes, there are modules, homework assignments, individual pages, and let's see, anything else. That pretty much covers it in this particular case. But here we've got complete courses. Beginner ESL. Now, some of these have been freely shared, so some will be better than others. Some will be pretty rudimentary, some will be quite high in quality. And you just have to you have to curate it yourself. You have to look through and see what looks good to you. You can just click on a link to preview it. So it consists of 5 Canvas pages, 1 discussion forum, 7 quizzes, and 49 files, arranged in homework, and these are basically modules: homework, links, assessments, welcome, and hello. And you can drill down into these and look at everything and see if it's of use. And if you find that it is, you can very easily import this content into your course shell with almost no effort. I'm going to go back to the search here to show you how to do that. I'm going to go to chemistry so we see that same chemistry course again, but this time in the form of a Canvas shell has been created. And I'm going to do Openstax, narrow that down a little bit. And here's that Openstax Chemistry course. And this complete course, this is the course cartridge that was referred to at the Openstax website, but here it's freely available to you. You don't have to sign up for, you're already signed up in Canvas, and that automatically gives you access to this. So you can click on this one and preview it. We've already done that, so we won't spend a lot of time at it. This one you can see consists of quite a bit more material, 25 modules no less. And here's your sort of your module list to preview. And here's that import or download button over here. Let's say we've decided this looks like a winner. We're going to try it. We can click that import download button, and all it asks you is, okay, what shell do you want it put in? There's not a lot of complicated interfaces or anything like that. It just gives you a list of all the courses that you are enrolled in, that you're the teacher in, and asks you, where do you want to put it? And I've got one, let's see, chemistry. What did I call that?
There was one that said General Chemistry from Openstax that you scrolled past.
Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. There it is. Thank you very much. That's the one right there. General Chemistry from Openstax. And all I have to do to put this cartridge, this course, into my shell is to select that shell and click Import into Course. Can't get much easier than that. I'm not going to do that because, as you might imagine, I tried that before we started today, and I've already done that. Also, it takes a little while. When you click that link, it says, okay, it's running. Just check back into your course later, and eventually the content will be there. I didn't want you to have to wait on that, so I've already done that. You can also download, if you want to do this later, you can download what's called a Canvas course export package for this course that you can save on your local hard drive and then upload into your course shell at your leisure. That also gives you the option to import just parts of the course cartridge. If you say, you know, I like my lecture materials and things like that, but I could use some more quizzes and some more discussion forums. So you can import just those features or just those parts into your course shell and leave everything else behind. But it's awful tempting just to say import into course and put it all in there, and I'll sort through it and I'll throw away what I don't like. So that's all there is to importing content from the Canvas Commons into your course shell. And I have let's go see what that looks like. I've done that. I have a little, let's see, there it is. General Chemistry from Openstax. You got a nice little banner image so that the tile is a little bit easier to identify. You can always do this, of course, with your Canvas courses yourself, but this one does it for you. So let's enter that course. We've got a pre-made opening page, a home page, that you can edit to your heart's content. Or you can just throw this away and make your own home page, or just have the students drop directly into the modules. And there was, of course, a link to the modules on the opening page as well, right here. And there's a page that you can customize for information about you and an overview of the course, but let's just go to the modules. And here we are. We got a full-blown course that is keyed chapter by chapter, topic by topic to the open textbook. And it just keeps going and going and going. This is an extensive amount of content for free. And of course, one of the first things, and here's some information for you on how to make this work. And here is the textbook itself. And this is material that you can customize. Here's a link directly to the textbook itself, and that even puts a link to the textbook in the course menu for you. So you can go directly to a new tab that has this is where we were before, directly on the Openstax site. So all of this is neatly packaged for you. There's I think it would be relatively unusual that you would use something like this as is, but it gives you a great start. And you can flesh it out with more information or more content of your own. You can get rid of things that don't apply to your particular philosophy of teaching this subject material easily enough. And you can hide things from students if they're not appropriate, and keep them in your back pocket, all the things you can normally do with Canvas. But there's a Canvas, pretty decent general chemistry course for free. And I hadn't been doing all the bloviating. I could have had that in my course shell and had it ready to start customizing in about 5 minutes. And remember, there are numerous different Openstax courses in a variety of different subjects. And all of them, as far as I know, have these course cartridges that you can just load right into your course shells if you access them through the Canvas Commons, because the folks at OEI helped design these shells at the California Community College's Open Educational Initiative, helped design these course cartridges. So this reflects sort of a consensus view of many of your colleagues at many of the different California community colleges. So these are quality, really quality resources that have been vetted by a lot of people and can provide, at the very least, a really great start to a course in a variety of different subject areas. So I love the Openstax books. Alrighty, let's see where we are here. So that pretty much all dealt with open textbooks. And those are probably the most critical of all open educational resources, because they save the students more money than anything else will, and provide them with more useful material. But it's by no means the only sort of open educational resources that you might use in your course. Now let's go back to the OER site here and look at some other possibilities. And again, there's lots more out there than what we have in here, but this will just give you an idea of some of the things. Oer Repositories, so-called learning object repositories. There are just many of them around the world. the Canvas Commons, of course, being the best one for us, because it's not only is the material shared by our own colleagues at our own level of higher education, but it's also, a lot of it comes from our colleagues we know and so on, and is heavily influenced by the California community colleges. Beyond that, probably the biggest single learning objects repository of open educational materials in the world is a site called Merlot. I imagine many of you have been into Merlot at one point or another. There are tens of thousands of learning objects here in every subject you can imagine, and probably a few you can't. Let's try English second language. I misspell English. Oh, I just didn't capitalize it. I can live with that. And let's see what comes up. I haven't tried this, so let's try it. Esl Games Plus. Several resources. What do we got? We just got, what, several repositories. Song lyrics for teaching English as a second language. Workshop and training material. Esl Games. So there's a fair bit, not an overwhelming amount, but a fair bit of open educational resources. You can access them just by clicking on the link. You get a little more information here, including disciplines this might apply to. And then there's always a link to Merlot does not create most of this material, and they don't store it locally. They're more of an index, an aggregator. And there's almost always a button that says, go to the actual location of the material online. And it tells you, whoops, you're leaving Merlot. You know, I'm no expert in this, but this looks, at least it's attractive. Might be worth a look. And this is just one site. Merlot has all sorts of learning objects, from documents to video to simulations. Let's try searching for simulations, which are particularly useful online, like physics simulators. Anybody who teaches physics probably knows about the Phizlets, little applications that illustrate various physical phenomena graphically and make it so much easier to grasp. And here we are. We can go to the material. And you can see Phizlets on the classic two-car race. Time and velocity relationships in motion problems and so on. And if you can, of course, change parameters and see the impact on the simulation and so on. My physics is old enough, I'm not even going to try. I think Isaac Newton was still warm when I took physics, so just all sorts of physics teachers get very, very fascinated with these sort of things. And there were just gazillions of simulations in a variety of different subject areas: economics, advertising of all things, electrical circuits, and there are like 20 pages of simulations. A lot of it tends to be STEM stuff, but not all of it by any means. Syntax, language syntax. So, wild variety of stuff, all available to use for free. And here are 7 or 8 more. Virtual lab simulations, one of the things, the hardest, one of the parts of many courses with laboratory sessions of all sorts, and not just science courses, but anything with a practical component to the course, are so difficult to put online. Well, simulations are one way to at least partly address that need. And here's one from Harvard with virtual laboratory exercises of many different types. So, again, we're always happy to have more links of this nature. There are many more than this out there, but that's what this section of this site deals with. Go back home. Video is, of course, a tremendous open educational resource. Publicly available video on the web is exceptionally valuable. And we've picked a few of the more of the larger and more popular sites that that provide online video that you can utilize in your courses for free. YouTube, of course, being the classic and the huge. I should have this in big letters. You know, there's more on YouTube than there is anywhere else. But you can go to YouTube and you can search YouTube for any subject. Bang. YouTube doesn't even try to tell you how many hits there are there. By the time they calculated the number of hits that there were, they'd probably be 10% more of them that had been just uploaded. Here's just a bewildering variety, unfortunately, of resources in this one subject area, just probably hundreds of them. There's the ESL project.
Problems.
So these videos, of course, can easily be inserted into your Canvas course. There's no wonderful automatic way of doing it like we had with the course cartridges from Openstax. But if you find like a TED Talks are, of course, hugely instructive and very, very reliable.
Monogram.
You can just go to the page for the video, click the share button, get the share URL, the link, the play link for the video, go into Canvas. I don't want to put it in this course. Let me go to something else I can not mess up. Go create a Canvas page. And to insert one of those YouTube videos into a Canvas page, all you have to do is click on the Insert Edit Media tool, paste the share URL that you just copied to your clipboard into the source box and click OK. And bang, there it is. Not much to it. It takes a few seconds. You save that page, then your students, you can link this page into your modules. The students can just click on the video and play it. And since it's on YouTube, it's captioned. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Shoot. Sorry about that. It is captioned.
I started teaching undergraduate English courses in the University of...
So these video repositories are exceptionally easy to use. Of course, we have an entire session, Zoom session, on adding video to your Canvas course. So I don't want to duplicate all that right now, though I'll certainly answer any questions you might have about it. But it's simple and quick to just bring these videos into your course and provide them to your students. Let's go back to the OER again. That wasn't what I meant to do, sorry. Hit the wrong one. They were still moving on me. That's more like it. And these are just a few. Khan Academy is the original screencasting, instructional screencasting site on the web. Solomon Khan made algebra videos for his nieces who were in high school. He was a stockbroker, very bright guy. He was a stockbroker. He just made these in his spare time. Started making broadcasts where he would solve math problems on a tablet and post them for his nieces. And he made them on a lark. He made them public on YouTube, and he literally made these in a closet that he'd converted into an office in a tiny apartment in Manhattan. And he made a bunch of them. He got into it, and he was good at mathematics. And other people started watching him. And he became so famous through that eventually people like Bill Gates and Microsoft came knocking and providing him with tons of money. And there's a huge site now that has instructional videos on huge number of different, there's Sal Khan, huge number of different subject areas. So, and it's all free, completely free, and easily incorporated into your Canvas courses. TED, we have the TED Talks, technology, education, and I can never remember what the D is, famous meetings all over the world where people who are world experts in various subject matter provide like 18-minute talks that are exceptionally watchable. Vimeo is a smaller site than YouTube, but has some very high quality video on it. And then we have our own little video repository, which I hope you are aware of, at sdccdolvid.org, which has a variety of training materials, primarily focused on faculty. Trying to figure out why my lights just went off here.
Dave,
You all still hearing me okay?
yes, Dave, on
Yeah.
the Vimeo, they have great like copyrighted video. So we have permission to use any of those videos.
Anything you find on any of these sites,
Okay,
the
but
site worries about the copyright. You don't.
okay,
So,
but doesn't have,
and that's true with anything on this site as well.
but Vimeo doesn't have, all of their videos are not closed caption. So does
No.
that mean,
Vimeo, you have to be a little careful. Some are captioned, some are not. And obviously the ones that are not captioned, you either can't use them or you have to do something more creative, which I won't mention while we're being recorded, okay?
all right,
There are ways to get Vimeo recordings and get them captioned, but we won't go into that right now. But YouTube, anything on YouTube, anything on TED, anything on the Khan Academy, and anything on our repository better be captioned. Should you find something on there that's not, I'd love to have you let me know. We certainly don't intend to have anything on there that's not captioned. And it would have been not that we haven't messed up a time or two in the past and put the wrong copy of something up. But the vast majority of what we have on our video repository is actually stored on YouTube, and you can find it there. But our video repository is just an easier way to find stuff that we have vetted and that we have created.
But that
Almost all this content is created by people here. Yes.
Yes. All right. So if you go to, it's a little different with City and Miramar, but at Mesa, like if you go to where it says library and then you go to the bottom, it says films on demand. Is that different? Because I noticed I don't see that listed there.
Well, no, because it's not an open educational resource. It's not free. Your library is paying for it. We do talk about that in our adding video course. And indeed, all 3 colleges now have access to Films on Demand, which is a tremendous library of instructional films, which is, again, all 3 of the colleges have access to that.
But you can only pay for the ones the films on demand are not the same as the ones that you said, the SDCCD video repository.
No, that's something
I
different.
can only use the ones that Mesa is paying for, but anyone can use the ones that the video repository from any 3 of the colleges.
Well, let me show you what it looks like, what Films on Demand looks like. I have to go into, the course has to be, we have these courses on Canvas segregated internally by college. Each one has a sub-account, a subdirectory where we put them. But if your course, if you in your course go to Films on Demand, and I'll show you how to find that easily without having to go to the library website and so on. If you go to Films on Demand, you can use anything that you find there because the Canvas knows which college you're associated with. And I have one that was associated, I just picked Mesa at random, but basically the content is similar for all 3. If I go into a video, let me just pull up a Canvas page here. In the rich content editor in this course, if I edit, go to the content editor, there's a little external tools link in the in the second line of the toolbar on the rich content editor. And if you mouse over it, it's labeled more external tools. And for Mesa, if your course is offered by Mesa, Miramar, or City, you'll be able to click on that V and there's a Films on Demand link. You can then search directly from within Canvas. You can search Films on Demand by keyword. Let's try English as a second language again. Oh yeah, here we go. Quite a few. And these are instructional videos. They're not like feature TV shows or feature films or something like that. They are instructional videos. Video on prepositions. You can preview the video. And you don't have to worry about this because, again, Films on Demand worries about that. These are quite high quality instructional films and quite expensive if you have to buy them one at a time, but Films on Demand provides these, and the libraries have subscribed to that service, so the copyright holders are paid. So this is all perfectly legal, and you can then embed this into your Canvas page, either just as a URL or as an embed. And you select embed, you can select the size. So I'll just pick medium. So you get a nice embed type link, and you save that, and your students can come into this page and just play that video. And they can do all the usual stuff. They can fast forward and all that. They're all captioned.
Bed. Bed. Shelves.
So that's how you access films on demand. And again, it's not an open educational resource because it costs somebody a ton of money, but not you. So you do have access to that. Let's go back and look at our outline here and see how we're doing. I think we've pretty much gotten through this. Talked about the OER video sites. I do have a miscellaneous OER section that I'm just building out. I'm be delighted to have some suggestions for that. It's mainly tools. Like the Canvas Commons. I try to link that everywhere I can. What if your students need to have a computer and they need a word processor, but they can't afford Microsoft? They don't want to spend the 40 bucks or so it would take them to get a copy of Microsoft Office because they can't get it free because the district doesn't provide students with EDU email addresses. So they lose out on a lot of free stuff that they could otherwise get. So they have to pay for it. And for some students, even 40 bucks or so is quite a stretch. OpenOffice is a completely free office suite. It actually started out life as a competitor to Microsoft Office. And the vendor lost out in that race and just tried to do Microsoft such harm as they could by giving it away. So students can download that. It runs on either Macs or PCs. Actually, it'll even run on a Linux or Linux-based computer. And it'll do everything a student needs to do. It's not Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint, but it's got equivalents to all three, and they're perfectly functional, and they're not that difficult to use. So that's a great, and of course, I should probably also put things like Google Docs in here as well, which are completely free for individuals. That just occurred to me. I should put that in here. Free screencasting tools like Screencast-O-Matic. And I haven't updated this with Techsmith Capture. I need to do that too. Zoom. This link will take you to the Confer Zoom site where you can get where a faculty member at a California community college can get their free Zoom account or pro account, which has no limitations, but students can get free basic Zoom accounts that have some limitations, but not really severe ones that they can use for themselves. Canva is a graphic design tool that's really simple to use, very useful for instructors especially. Here's somebody, and these two I did not add. Somebody's come in and added them for me. That's wonderful. The City College's OER page, which has complimentary and different information even than we have. And this is the first time I've seen this one. Let's see what that is. Just click on that. Online tools for teaching and learning. Just assessment tools, knowledge tools, learner center. From Amherst. Interesting. Lots of interesting stuff here. I got to look at that. And that's just the home. And we've got knowledge tools. Wow. That's quite a collection. So again, we're always looking for more links here. This is probably the least developed page in this site. We're always looking for, I see a couple of things I see I need to add right off the bat, but you can come in and add these as well, or just send me the suggestion and I'll put it in. All righty, I think that's pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about today. Let me open up the floor now to questions on this or any other topics. And I'll stay here as long as you have questions. Let me look at the chat tool first. I know I got that open here somewhere to see if anybody's put anything in there that I have missed. Will the Zoom recording save the attendance if we only did the chat with turning on the record? No, you won't. The attendance, Zoom attendance, will not be in the Zoom recording. It will be in the reports section. But yes, it will. It doesn't matter whether you recorded the session or not. Zoom will still have the attendance information. So we can use material out of open textbooks in our Zoom recording and post them on YouTube. Yeah, no problem. They're free and open. So you're not going to get in trouble pulling up part of an open textbook during a Zoom meeting and sharing that with your students and then putting the recording on YouTube. Could I write the link for Openstax? Sure. Got that open here somewhere. Tabs are getting so small I can't find them. It's just openstax.org, I think.
It's already in the chat box, I think.
I'm sorry?
I think it's already in the chat box.
Did I already put it in there?
I stole some of your thunder there, Dave. It's getting kind of.
Arnie.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Thanks, Arnie. Great, thank you. Good. I'll just go ahead and put it in again. Just okay. All righty. Whoop.
Dave, I had a question really quick.
Please go right ahead.
You were talking about getting access to Microsoft if you had an EDU account. Do we
Yes.
get, as faculty members, do we get
Yes.
access to that? How do we do
Yes.
that? I just upgraded and lost access to my old
Oh, I know the feeling.
Microsoft Office.
Free MS Office for you used to be able to. Anyway, I'm using a copy that I got years ago. They're still updating that I got completely for free for educators.
I think I got mine through the bookstore by asking Peter. I think it's Peter who's in charge. Peter, is that his name? Keith?
Here you go.
Yeah.
Here at Microsoft.com.
And you're with your EDU account.
Get started with Office 365 for free with your school email address.
Thanks.
Yeah, there used to be an even better deal because I think this one, if I remember correctly, restricts you, like you can only store your documents on OneDrive and things like that, and you can't store them locally and all that. But there used to be a completely free, fully functional version. So I'll look into that. Here we go. Download Microsoft Office 2019 at no cost, students and faculty. I'm using the Office 2016, which is what I got for free. No cost, faculty price $15. Didn't cost me a thing. So I'd go to that Microsoft link and work from there.
Thanks.
Okay, you bet. And thanks, Arnie, for posting that. If I have a development shell, 1, 2, 3, and 4, would one of these be the name? Not sure, Ardith, what was that about?
When you have to put a name to download the development shell, and the shell that you're gonna download into your shell, you have to put the name of your shell. So if I'm
Right.
in the,
Well, it'll give you a list of all the
oh, it will.
shells that you are enrolled in, and you can pick the one you want. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, thanks.
You don't have to remember the name. It'll remind you. Thank God.
All right.
Do they have quizzes in these free course shells? In many cases, yes. Child development. Yeah, a video link, absolutely. And thanks again, Arnie. Does Merlot have importable courses? I don't think so.
Dave,
Yes.
this is Katie here. Could you show me how to link up with a child development video
Yeah, let's try that.
if you
You
have a
bet.
minute? You have a minute?
Oh, that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
Let's go to, we'll start on YouTube because they got more than anybody else, but you could try any of these sites. And indeed, you could just Google child development video and you probably get a ton of stuff, but let's just try YouTube.
Okay.
Probably be enough there to keep you busy looking at it for a while. Like I say, they don't even try to tell you how many hits there were, but the hits just keep coming. Notice it's still adding more.
So just type in child development and I can find it, huh?
Yeah, I could probably keep doing this for the rest of the day. It'll just keep adding new.
That'll keep me busy.
Yeah, it's, it'd be nice. Of course, you can narrow it further, and they have some suggestions.
We'll say type in infants and toddlers.
I'm sorry, infants and toddlers.
Yeah, type in infants and toddlers and see if we narrow it down a bit.
And I presuppose, yes. Presupposes I could type infants.
Just curious to see what they have. Because I think, especially with young children, it helps to have the students see what the kids are doing rather than just read about them.
Yeah. One thing you do have to watch, of course, you're talking about your college age students. If you have high school students, like if you're teaching an extension course in a high school or something, sometimes high school students at school don't have access to YouTube. It's blocked, which is exceptionally short-sighted because there's really not, Google goes to great lengths to make sure there's nothing really obscene on YouTube. It can be questionable taste, but they kill off anything that's really unpleasant very quickly. And of course, the instructional materials available on YouTube is just incredible. And to throw the baby out with the bathwater that way is politics rather than education. But anyway, there's, oh my. And this is the same. If I keep going down, it'll just keep loading more. If anything, the problem with YouTube is not that you can't find, or that the stuff that you want is not on there, it's finding it. But as with all Google searches, it prioritizes the hits by their popularity, basically. The more people that watch something, the more likely it is to show up at the top of the list. So you're likely to get the better videos near the top of the list, though you can't depend on that either. So just go in and search, and you will
Thank
find
you.
a ton. And there are, and like I say, you could go to Google and do the same thing, and it'll pull up tons and tons and tons of videos from YouTube and other sites. And no, it's not that the problem with OER in general is the same as the problem with OER video. There's so much material out there that finding what is good and what will work for you can take time, because you're really sifting through an incredible amount of stuff. On the other hand, it's out there, and you can put together an amazing online course or supplements for an amazing classroom course without spending a dime of your money and without having your students ripped. I mean, the publisher's rep comes in and says, you can have this wonderful site, and it doesn't cost you or the district a thing, so go ahead and sign up. You know, all you gotta do is click here, sign up, and then your students are gonna, when they go to the bookstore to buy that book, then they get that $50 or $60 price tag on top of that for that site. And I'm not overly enamored of that marketing approach. I don't think very many faculty members are. So this is a way, open educational resources is a way you can fight back against that. And the open educational resources get better in quality. There are more of them every day, and they are easier and easier to adopt and use all the time. That LibreText site that I showed you early on is a really nice, not that they've created much of anything themselves, but they've done a wonderful job of arranging all of this stuff. And their presentation of these same books, like they present the Openstax books. Talk about a possible copyright issue. I got a feeling there are probably lawyers salivating over things like that, but they present those books in a very effective manner. And I assume they have some sort of arrangement with Openstax and many other providers. And they have just again, a large variety of subject areas. So I'd look here as well if I were looking for an open textbook. Been very impressed with that, what I've seen of it so far. Okay, other questions? I think we got to the bottom of the chat tool finally.
Well, I had something in the chat too. Maybe it's too near the bottom.
Oh, okay. Maybe I haven't gotten to it yet.
I actually have two things.
How do we include the Open Office alternatives to MS Office to students? Just send them the link. You click right there, you get the Open Office. Except I'd already typed something in there. And indeed, it's just www.openoffice.org or just openoffice.org. And they can download it and install it themselves absolutely for free. Let me put that in the chat tool. And you can always get that link by going back to the to our website. Whoop. Bada bing. There we go. So Google Docs probably work just as well for them. Many of them have grown up using Google Docs, as it were, because Chromebooks are little laptops running a Google operating system are so common in education now. And for personal productivity tools, they use Google Docs and Google Drive, and those work very well as well. though the Open Office is a little bit more sophisticated and has more capability, but it does require you to download the installer and install it on your computer. And it will only run on Mac, Windows, and Linux. Well, I don't think it'll run on Chromebooks. But it's excellent. I've had to use the spreadsheet in Open Office any number of times because of certain behaviors that are built into Excel that are not conducive to some of the course management that we do and so on. And I use the Open Office spreadsheet all the time. It's very, if you know how to use Excel, you can just start using Open Office. The one place it wouldn't be useful is if the student is taking taking a Microsoft Office course and they're learning Word and Excel and things like that. Specifically, the user interfaces are not identical by any means, so they wouldn't be able to use them for that. But for just turning in papers in other courses and things like that, Open Office works great. It'll even save documents in Word format so that the students can submit them to Canvas and things like that. So, and Canvas supports Open Office file formats quite nicely. So they work very well together.
So Dave, I have a question about that. Hi, I came late because I just found it on the email late, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, remember we are recording it. You can go back and pick it up, but it's nice to have you in any case.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I was missing you guys. So how is the spreadsheet in Open Office different than say using Google Doc? Or are they?
Well, it's actually installed on the local computer. So it maybe runs a little faster. It doesn't depend on the internet. You can use it when you're offline.
Google Doc is in the iCloud?
Yeah, well, Google Doc is an online resource. You have to be connected to the internet to use it. The Open Office, you don't.
Okay, and then my other question is, I bought from On the Hub the Microsoft for my 2 Macs, and anyways, the guy from On the Hub took me through, because I didn't know I bought it, but I didn't know how to get it on my computer.
Install it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how to. So he took me step by step, but he said when you're installing it, when Microsoft asks you for information, don't use your district email, because that means, say I stopped working for the district in a year and there was an upgrade and I didn't have a district email,
right?
That would be a problem. So when you're registering for with Microsoft to use your personal email, so I want to know, how does that work with the On the Hub free stuff?
Well, what he says is true. If that thing's tied to your district account and you no longer have the district account, sooner or later they're gonna, you're gonna have to upgrade, and they're gonna send you a message to your district email or something that you can't get to anymore, and it's not gonna work for you. But you can't, and I presume then with On the Hub, you can sign up. You're paying for it, right? So you don't have to use your district email address for that, and I wouldn't.
Well,
but if you want the free Office 365, it has to be an EDU email address, so you have to use your district address, and you may indeed eventually lose access to that after you retire. And if you're not teaching pro rata, and they scrub your email address from the system, then you could lose access to that. That's true. But it's free to start with, so it's not the end of the world.
Well, I had to log in as a faculty member, I think, with my SDCCD email. But then when I registered with Microsoft to download that software, I registered with my private email. And
it lets you do that because you already had a code from On Hub and so on, I presume. Yeah, but what I showed was the Microsoft's free Office 365 service. And if you sign up directly through Microsoft that way for free, then you have to use your district email address.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And I did. I faced losing access to that for a while until they asked me to come back and they re-enabled my email. But they do. The district, you retire the day the door hits you in the back, they pull your email address out of the system and inactivate it. I had to go through a number of hoops to get that back when they wanted me to come back and work part-time. So. But if you're, on the other hand, if you sign up to teach pro rata, they will not scrub your email address out of the system until you're done with that. I guess you get what, I forget how long it is, 10 years, something like that, you can do that. I didn't have that option, so I'm not familiar with it.
So is the same true for the students? They have to, for the Microsoft Office for free, they have to use their district email, and they
the problem is the students don't have a district email address.
Yeah.
The district doesn't provide students with EDU email addresses, which causes them to miss out on a lot of free stuff that they could otherwise have. A lot of companies will provide software to students for free or for really reduced prices, but they require that the student have an EDU email address in order to get that. Okay. And the district has never provided that in the time, well, as far as I know, ever. And that's, shall we say, an ongoing discussion in administrative circles. It's been going on for forever. The district could do it with really very little cost. It would just involve some effort on the part of IT, and it would involve opening up our systems a little bit to somebody like Google to allow that to happen. And they're not willing to do that. And I understand they have good points, but on the other hand, a lot of institutions do provide students with EDU email addresses. Probably, I would say most do. So that's an ongoing discussion, as you can imagine.
Dave, this is Kathy.
Yes, Kathy.
For once, I think I'm the only Kathy today. Anyway, the other question I had in the chat room was, because I'm in the process of, I may have to change books again, because the one I've been using, I use it because it has sample outline. It's a speech communication class. Sample outline and sample videos, and that helps students tremendously.
Right.
Not everybody does. And I thought when you showed me very quickly, there's not a lot of humanities, although I did see Espanol somewhere, a lot of humanities kind of language things, but I think I saw it through journalism and communication, but did they have sample speeches and outlines? I see
that varies from book to book.
Okay.
And you can find some that do and many don't. On the other hand, those kind of resources very likely may be available on one of these other open educational resource sites like Merlot or the Oer Commons, or Hippocampus is another big one. So you may be able to find roughly equivalent resources to those that were provided with your textbook.
Hippocampus is not
online for free. Pardon?
Hippocampus is not a medical one? I was thinking like Hippocratic.
No, as in, no. All sorts of, I've got resources in math, natural science, social science, and humanities. From the, was it National, I can't remember what NROC stands for. And here's a bunch of other sites that they link to. And one of these sites will lead you to other sites, it does take a little time to find. It's always worth contacting people who teach the same thing that you do, that you know, and seeing what they may have found, and sharing ideas. But I'd be very surprised if after a search you couldn't find materials that were broadly similar to what you were getting with your textbook. But the publisher, of course, makes it easy for you and provides it. They do the legwork, but then they charge your students through the nose for that. So
That's why I stay with the same.
It's a trade-off.
Old stuff and keep using it as long as I keep using their material. But I was going to try something new and cheap, but I'm not finding it.
I hear you.
Free.
Right, exactly. And there isn't a free resource for everything, unfortunately, but there is for a surprising variety of things. And let's see. Public speaking, Oer Commons. Just looking at a couple here. And these, developing an attention getter for a speak. There's a video tutorial. Again, I'm not qualified to evaluate these things, but you might find something there. And that was just, what, the second link in a Google search of OER speech resources.
Yeah, but it's not. Can you put in the word outlines, or because like outlines, they look like.
Oh yeah, you put anything there.
Student outlines, student speech outlines.
Okay. Speech language pathology. It looks like there's brought that same one up again. Outlining your speech, principles of public speaking. And we found that in the first 10 links. So seems likely that by tinkering around with your keywords there a little bit in Google, you might find some things like that. Looking for public speaking OER. And the OER Commons is one of the sites we do have linked on our site as well. OER Public Speaking Textbook. There we go, OER Commons again. There's one at the Open Textbook Library. Oh, there's a lot of OER out there for teaching speech.
You can find the topics, but not a sample of a student speech and an outline that goes with it, because that is helping students a lot. And that some professional textbooks don't even do that.
Right. Well, say commercial. Most of these are professional because they were created by professionals just like you. But the commercial vendors have more resources, and you may not find something that's exactly like what you have, but you may, because that's just the first page of links. And then Google will also suggest other possibilities to you for searches. So with a little time, you might well find something similar.
Or maybe I created an account for myself.
And then, of course, there's but there's a limit, obviously, in terms of time and what you can create by yourself. So, let's see. I see something I missed earlier on the in the chat tool. Lena, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're still here. Good. Should we put videos in Canvas on pages or modules? Well, either one will work fine. If it's a
Which one
YouTube,
which one do you recommend to work better so it won't be too cluttered?
I like embedding the videos into a page, because you get that. Let's see if I can get back to. What did I do here? There we go. Get back to Canvas here. Let me go to that course that I was tinkering around in a minute ago. I think it was that one. Nope. Sorry about that. That would be the last one, wouldn't it? Something like this is just inherently more engaging and more likely to suck a student in, I think, than even a tiny little embed like this or just a link. So I really like the embedding video into a page. I think it's much more likely to get watched that way, even if it's not especially comfort inducing like this one. This one might scare you off, but generally I think they're more engaging, as opposed to just putting a link in a module. Where it just looks like this, and you click on it, and then you go to it on YouTube. And
prior to practicing suctioning on a co-student, the correct
stop. There we go. But that's just, either way will work, though. Far more important that you find the video and put it in there somehow. I think how you present it to the students is much less important. But it's really just about as easy, if it's a YouTube video especially, it's just about as easy to embed it as it is to create the hyperlink, because you use the same URL. And let's see, all you got to do is, if I edit the page, all you have to do to embed that video in a Canvas page is just click this Insert Edit Media tool, and then you paste in. Let's see if I still have that. Nope. I got to go get a video URL in just a second. I'm not going to be especially discriminating here. Here's something I hope to have before long. Okay, I just got a YouTube video at random. All I have to do, I can either create that external URL in a module, or I can just create a page and just about as quickly go and open up that Insert Edit Media tool and paste the URL in and just say okay, and then bada boom. Except that didn't work for some reason. What did I do? I have no idea why that didn't work the first time. So that's just as easy and almost as quick. And it just looks a lot more lot more appealing.
Mhm.
And that makes a difference. The students are more likely to watch it. If you have videos that are not on YouTube, it's not quite that easy to get this nice embed here, because then you have to have what's called an embed code. And you have to know how to get that from the video site. And some video sites don't offer that, so you can't use that. Those you just have to link to. But if they do offer an embed code, which is just a snippet of HTML code that you can just paste in here without understanding anything about it, you can then get this same sort of embed, but doing it with just the general tab here and pasting into the source box only gives you an embed if the video is stored on YouTube, because Canvas has done some background programming that says this is a YouTube video, embed it, and here's what the embed code should look like, and it generates it on its own. If it's a site other than YouTube, you'll probably have to come up with the embed code on your own and paste it into this box. It's not complicated. It just takes another step. And we cover that in detail in our adding video session. But as long as it's on YouTube, it's really simple.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. Other questions?
Dave, I have a question totally unrelated.
On anything.
Okay. All right. When I was going through the certification process, I found a few little typos, but I also found where they said, watch this video, and when I pressed it, page came up, it said video not found. So I emailed all you guys a couple of emails last week, but I don't know if you all got it. It's in the
I'm sure it came in. I'm sure they will look at that. I don't know how long it'll take them. Particularly if it's a video they're not using in the new course, they probably won't worry about it. But thank you very much for doing that. And we want, because that's one of the drawbacks to using video that you don't own, that you didn't create in your course. There's some possibility, it's usually a pretty minor possibility over the course of say a semester or something like that, but there's always the possibility that that resource could disappear because the owner took it down for whatever reason. Or if it's something other than YouTube, the site could just go out of business or something and disappear. But that doesn't happen very often, and you can have Canvas warn you of that sort of thing too. That there's a notification you can set that will tell you if Canvas will tell you if your students click on a link in your course and they don't get to it. In some cases, at least, Canvas can notify you of that and let you know to go look at it and replace it. And I did get a notification like that last week from Canvas, and I passed that along too. So hopefully they'll fix that. And thank you very much for doing that. That's much appreciated.
Because they said, make sure you watch this second video. It's a very.
And it wasn't there, yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Broken links, the curse of the web. And it's very hard to completely avoid them. April, I see your hand up.
Hi, I have several questions that are not related to OERs.
That's fine.
Working most of the day with 5.6, the navigation made easy.
In the training course.
In the training course, yes.
Okay, let me get there.
Okay.
Oop. Yes, Canvas, I really want to go there.
I'm stuck in it right now. I didn't want to proceed.
All righty.
The PDF.
Okay, and this is, what was the?
5. It's 5.6.
5.6. Let me pull that one up. Navigation made easy. Okay, this is basically unchanged from the last course, I believe.
It looks
All
just
right.
like mine. Okay, well,
Good.
I started on this about 1:28 in the morning last night.
Aha!
I'm slow. I'm not good at this. I printed out the PDF. I read it 12 times until I felt comfortable. I watched Peter T's video about 5 times. I missed out on the first session because I had to go to an eye doctor appointment, came back.
Oh, yeah.
And what I have found is when I do it, all the directions are great. I was able to, click and drag all the required elements. I was able to click on student view to make sure that they saw only what they saw. It was the same as the picture in the PDF. Didn't mind, and I saw the little eyeballs next to where they were supposed to be. And then at the very end of the video, Peter T says now to submit assignment, click on home. And so that way you can get back to 5.6 and copy your URL because you're going to click on submit assignment and then paste in the URL. The problem, when I clicked on home, nothing happened. So instinctively I thought, should I just get out of here, go back to the dashboard, go back to the online certification program and bring myself back to module 5.6 and proceed from there? If I do, yes, I did click save for all those things. Do I then have to go back and do them all over again, or just?
Oh, no, those changes. Now, when you make changes to your course menu in Canvas, you do have to save those before you leave that page. Okay,
yes,
good.
that was very
you're
well
fine.
explained.
That will not change. Your practice course, and you have the URL from your practice course on your clipboard, right?
I'm going to go back and do it again. I'm going to go to the, because I copied it, and then what I did is I thought I don't want to make a wrong move. I'm just going to run into this session and ask you and go back to it later and probably still do it wrong. I have no aptitude for this. But I know to go back to where I was, back to where I see that that I have what they want, which is home, the announcements, the syllabus, the modules, the stuff
the home screen in your practice course.
Right. Yeah, in the practice module that they gave us. Not module, but the practice shell. That's what I'm referring to. Okay, well, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I will try it.
Well, basically, all you have to do is go into let me pull up a course. It won't be your practice course, but I'll just pull up some odd course that I've got here. You go to the home screen, which is where you start in, or you just click that. And this is your home screen. That's the address for the home screen right there in the address bar on your
that is exactly what I saw to cut and paste, but it wasn't on the home screen. It was where I was when I was ready to get back after clicking on the home screen and not getting back to the home screen. That was the problem. In other words, when I click on the home screen, I don't
Well, yeah, if you just go out and come back into your practice course, it'll drop you.
And that's how I'll do it.
That's
how I'll do it.
And then just copy that and then paste that into the URL box in the assignment and submit it. That's all. That's all I want.
I'll try that. The other question I have, and again, my panic setting in. Today, I was delighted to receive the grade for 4.3, but I've yet to get anything back from the 3 module. And is it because different graders are proceeding at different paces?
Yes.
The reason is I had emailed you before about 3.4 on equity, and the box wasn't checked, and I thought it was my fault because it said,
I looked at your your submission. It's fine.
The reason I was concerned is the one thing about this that's driving me crazy is when they say click mark as read, and it took me a while to figure out the 3 little dots, and I put a question into the help button, and they said that was the natural default to say mark as read. So in other words, when I have not clicked that box again, is now everything I've done going to be thrown out? Or
no, that
don't worry about
really
it.
Doesn't have much of anything to do with anything, because when you submit, it's going to show up in the grade book.
Okay.
In the course as a submitted, you get the little submission icon. Okay. As long as that's in there, you're great. That's what where people are going to grade. They're going to the grade book. They're pulling it up. They're going down the column. When they get to your cell for that assignment, there's a little submission icon there. They click on that, they go into the speed grader, and they grade it. They're not looking at anything in your practice course or anything like that.
All right.
So that's for your benefit, not for the graders. So as long as you have submitted it and Canva says, okay, I got it, you know, there's always a little button or a little receipt up in the upper right-hand corner. That actually now I think they've engaged the confetti option.
I
So
received
when you
confetti for one of
get a
them.
little confetti coming out of the screen.
Okay.
That's meant to really reassure you that Canva's got it. And you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's in the grade book waiting to be graded. And yes, indeed, different people are grading different assignments because the grading goes much more efficiently that way, and they're able to be more consistent. If the same person grades most of this one assignment, the grades tend to be more consistent. So yeah, you're golden. Don't worry about those little green check marks and stuff.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's just a reminder for you. As long as you know you submitted it, you're safe. And if you ever have a question about that, do what you did the other day. Email me and I'll go in and I'll look at it. I would have graded it, except that I don't normally grade that assignment.
I understand.
And I didn't want to, you know, put a grade in there that was inconsistent with the standards that another grader was applying to that. And everybody, you know well that, you know, when you're grading things, you're using a lot of your own judgment. And somebody else might give a slightly different grade one way or the other. And I just didn't want to.
No, I understand that. One last question. If I finish 5.6 and submit it, will I know if it has been submitted? In other words, if there's something wrong, I don't mean according to the standards of the rubric, but I mean, as soon as I put in the URL and click submit, if it's submitted, should I then assume I've done that part right at least?
Oh yeah, it'll tell you if it has any trouble with it. You'll get a receipt up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen that says that
I've seen those.
It's been accepted.
All right, thank you.
You're fine.
All right, thank you.
Not to worry. Yeah, I know it'd be nice if you could get the submission graded in real time, and they're getting closer to that. They're almost done with the grading in the 2019-2020 course, and everybody has been moved over, been put into the new course as well, and they're starting to grade in there. And we've got like 9 people grading right now, where before we had like 3. So it's going to get better. And where there are 1,030 or some odd people in the last year's course, there are about 300 and some in this year's course so far. And that's slowing, and the rate of enrollment is slowing down as people, you know, almost everyone's been enrolled. So it's getting faster.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Steve, do you know when, if we finish with the 2019-20, when they'll let us, I mean, I know I have enough points, but when we'll know we get a certification, or do I have to request it?
No, you don't have to request it. As long as your certification statement was submitted, they will send it to you as soon as I get through. We had a meeting this morning. I think they said there were 330 certification statements awaiting review, but those don't take long to review. So they're working toward getting those certifications out as quickly as possible. If I got pressure from my dean or something like that, I might email Chris or Trenton or Peter or all 3 of them and say, you know, could you give me some indication? I need something to placate my dean. Can you look at it? Am I going to be okay? And they'd probably give you a heads up on that. You wouldn't have the official certification certificate, but you'd have reassurance that you had successfully completed the course. We've done that often enough.
So that's good.
So we'll take care of you in that regard. But you'll get that certificate. It's coming.
And by the way, thanks for all your help. I think that's why I was able to sail through it at the end like that.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I'm still showing up for these things because I don't remember things as much as I used to.
I'd like to tell you it gets better. Good luck to us all. This helps, though. It helps keep you helps keep you engaged and mentally flexible. At least I hope so. All right, any other questions? Well, go out there and find some OER, please. Your students will really appreciate it if you can. And there's some surprisingly good stuff out there that people give away for free just because they don't want the hassles of corporate editing and things like that. So good luck with that. And let me know if I can help, as always. Okay? Take care. Stay safe, and I hope to see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.